All right, what's going on? It's Bobby Skinner talking Giants with your Week 15 offensive line report, and I lied. I'm a big old liar. I said I was going to go through all the sacks. When I started going through the run game, right, because it's like, what's wrong with this run game? What's the issues with it? And I was like, you know what? I want to just go through the run plays, right? We watched the sacks. We kind of saw what happened on them, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of sacks to go through against the Philadelphia Eagles. I want to go through the struggles of this run game, right? Is it on Saquon Barkley? Is it on the offensive line? Is it because of the way that defenses are playing the Giants? So this is more like just a look at what Saquon Barkley and the run offense is dealing with every play. So I think it's a combination of everything essentially except for Saquon Barkley. You know, the offensive line is struggling. The way they work their combos is a flat-out mess. There's lack of communication. There's false steps. And then from the defensive standpoint of view, they are crashing on these runs. They're spilling inside, and they're playing from stacked boxes. So I give a little speech at the end of this about how fired up I am and how the Giants need to adjust to this. But for now, let's get into it. I went through all 10 runs, breaking down what went wrong with it. All right, let's get into it. So there's 10 runs we're going to go through here. First play is this split zone, again, versus stacked box. What happens here, right? So split zone, it's just your regular inside zone. Everyone's taking zone steps, and then you have the tight end here with this wham block. So what happens on this? And again, you've got 6 blockers for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that means they have every gap accounted for. It's a stack box. And this is just a bad job by 4 of the 5 offensive linemen. We'll start on the backside. We'll start with the most consequential, and that is a bad job communicating, bad job by JMS and Ben Bredesen, right? So we're all taking our zone blocks, right? Thomas is out to here. Pugh is by himself. So these two are working to this player, right? You have Bellinger is accounting for the backside end. Tyree Phillips here, and he's going to be unblocked. But these two are working towards this linebacker, and they both go. They both go. They both have their eyes on that linebacker, which they should be. But for some reason, and again, you can make the argument that, you know, each one of these guys was right or each one was wrong. Because right now, this linebacker is sitting and he's reading. So here's where I'm going to say they're both wrong. Neither one of them should have went off at this point. Block into that player. Block into that player, and they both go and leave him unblocked. Like right now, there's no way Bredesen's supposed to leave on this with this angle, with his head out here, with the way he's playing. Get in his hip and continue to drive him. And same with JMS. Get underneath that shoulder pad, continue to drive until you are into this linebacker. He's not playing fast. He's not forcing you to come off. And so there you have a guy who's now unblocked from Pugh. I mean, he just gets stunned, right? Like, quick feet, good job, bam, goes for the punch, and this defensive lineman is just stronger at the point of attack. Just stronger. Like, there's not much more to break down on it. And then Tyree Phillips, he comes in high, his hands are low, he's making contact with his chest. And this defensive lineman, Cam Jordan, is able to just read, stay square, bad run. Next play, wide zone. Now you have a favorable box. Now they put Breida off this one to set off their play action, their sequencing, and also to try and get this player to chase that. Most of the time, this player will chase that. But because they're playing the New York Giants, we ain't chasing shit. We're just going to pass this off to the backside. We're not worried about this. We're going to leave our nickel Alontae Taylor in here to play the run. Right? So now we're playing into a stack box anyway. But watch everyone's step, right? Everyone but JMS's step, right? You're taking that bucket step. Backwards, 45 degrees. You're losing ground to gain ground. The one person who's different is JMS, and it makes all the difference in the world. JMS is this foot should be dropping right here. Instead, it's dropping underneath him, which again puts him a half second behind. And these guys are working to this player right here. And JMS is not able to get over here and flip his hips on this. He doesn't have enough depth. Bredesen isn't able to get enough apiece to turn his shoulder to allow JMS to flip his hips. And now you've got this defensive lineman in your chest. And Saquon's essentially got nowhere to go. Like, he goes where he is. But the way this defensive lineman is playing this, if Jameis doesn't take this false step, he's got better posture. He can take this left hand, pin him out, and wash him out and let Saquon cut up here. But even then, because they're playing these heavy boxes, well, they've still got backside linebackers flowing. Next play. They're going to motion into power. And again, this is the way that that defenses are playing the Giants. Again, watch how quickly everyone's getting downhill. And they're just going to spill everything. So this is a good job by Pugh and Thomas, actually, right? Pugh actually talked about this in our podcast, where he's holding him up, allowing Thomas to get that hammer block through the hip. And as soon as he sees that this end, though, because, hey, we're playing the New York Giants, we're gonna spill, right? We see this motioning. We're going to spill this inside, right? Which forces Bredesen, who wants to come up and lead block, to go back outside. And guess what? Demario Davis is going to get downhill, and he's going to spill Bredesen. He's going to rip through the inside of Bredesen, who misses that block, right? And even if, like, hey, he spills, which means we got to bounce this. Get a piece of him. If you get a piece of him, if you're able to flip your hips and give a piece, well, then Saquon's at least got a chance with a one-on-one here. But again, Hodgins is supposed to crack this block down. He's not able to get it because of how fast these linebackers are playing downhill. And then this, who Bredesen is actually supposed to be blocking, Thomas has to peel off of him. You got the two corners unblocked out here because you got the crack and that player unblocked. And it's just a fucking mess. It's a total mess in the run game because of the way teams are playing this. Next play. Probably their most successful run. That wasn't a 4th and 1. Pin and pull. This is what the Giants are the best at. They ran it a lot last year. Obviously, this isn't the great run. But you have, so let's see. We have the B gap and we got the C gap accounted for, which means we're gonna try and pin these two down, and then these guys are uncovered on their inside. They're gonna pull. They're going to pull. Thomas is athletic. He's able to seal this off. And then Pugh's going to go out and run and try and get to this linebacker, which is a hard block to make. He's not able to fully make it. But this is a good job. Great job blocking by Bellinger, right? To flip his hips, stay connected on this, get low, good knee bend, good job. Bredesen's going to pin this out. JMS gets the right good hat placement. Now, obviously, Bredesen, you would hope that he could wash this corner out a little more. He's not able to. This block from Pugh. 4-yard run, though, on first down. Like, that's, I will live with that at this point with the Giants' offensive line. I feel like they just need to run this more. Now they're going to run a zone read, inside zone. What do we have on this? Okay, so one, watch out how Werner is crashing. So Bredesen does a good job on this. So he doesn't get the movement he wants. But we'll talk about the first step, right? Everyone, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're all having a good step. For some reason, like it's inside zone, we are stepping forward. Right? Or stepping to the side like this zone step. Except for Thomas out here. And then maybe Phillips is being taught this, but I don't like this step, this bucket step. I want to gain ground on this. Instead, again, he comes in high. He's got bad posture. And we're standing straight up at this point. We're not getting any movement on this. Right? And so, if a linebacker is crashing like this on this zone read, well, you got to just wash this down. Instead, This double team is occupying both these cats. Neither one is able to get off of it. Linebacker crashes, makes a play. Thomas does a bad job on this. Right? Thomas does a bad job on this. And honestly, Pugh and JMS do a great job. Right? JMS gets great leverage. Not even Pugh, just JMS gets great leverage, great movement off the linebacker. But it's screwed because of the mistakes of others. Next play, what do we have? This is a 4th down. Inside zone. This is good adjustment by Pugh and JMS. This is the other successful run they had. We got Thomas blocking out. So this is a 4th down, right? So they're going to squeeze. He's going to jump this gap, and the linebacker's going to fill downhill. Good posture by by Pugh on this, right? Because a lot of guys on 4th down, they're eager. They end up whiffing on this. Good job to flip his hips, stay on this, right? Allow JMS to get his hips into this, and then drive, and then Pugh goes over to the linebacker, and that gives you a crease to convert the 4th down. That's a good job. That's a good job with everybody squeezing everything inside. Good little butt block by Bredesen. Wall him off. That's a good job. That's a successful 4th down run. Next we have wide zone. You're going to put Glowinski in that motion. This ends up being a penalty, so the run doesn't actually count in the stat book. And Tyree Phillips. We are shifting. We are forcing our weight way too far out on this, right? You got to come with posture. You got to come collected. Instead, we are over our skis because we want to get out there, right? We don't want him to get upfield. So we get over our skis. So we get to the spot we're at right now. But instead of being able to pin this out, to take this left arm and pin this out, well, guess what? He's in control of the block. He's setting an edge. And because you got all your weight shifting this way, he's able to use that against you. Man, because this should be a solid run. Right? Like Bredesen and JMS do a pretty solid job. Bredesen gets the defensive lineman's shoulders turned for JMS to get around on this. This should be a nice little crease here, but Phillips isn't able to pin this out. Pugh's got to do a better job on this cut block on the backside. That should have been a nice run. I mean, I guess it ended up being 3 yards, even though it's a penalty. But next play, what do we got? A draw play. Got good numbers, right? You got 6 for 6 blockers wise, but Pugh just gets dominated at the point of attack. Like where you're just trying to pin this. We're just trying to, like you see this right step. You're trying to get him to come up field as a pass rusher, but he takes that. He just gets in his chest and bull rushes him, right? And that's what happens when you're winning like that consistently. It's just, hey, I'm going to use power. Bull rushes him in the Saquon. If that doesn't happen, right? Like if he's just able to get this guy upfield, then you've got yourself a nice little crease, and it probably would have been a successful run. But even then, because of the way Giant teams are playing the run on Saquon Barkley and the Giants, look, this is a draw play. And look at the nickel corner. Look at the nickel corner on a draw play. Right? So even then, like there's still limited success to be had on this play on what looks like a favorable front to run that shit on. And then the next play, again, that inside zone read. This is just a good job by the end because the offensive line actually does a fairly solid job on this. Right? Because like we talked about before, with that linebacker crashing on the other side where Phillips, like good job by Thomas, saying, okay, this linebacker's going to crash. I'm just going to get in his hip and drive and give enough for Saquon to come off of this. But the end, again, this is why Tommy DeVito had some success in the zone read, holding on to the ball. He's not really worried about this with DeVito, right? If you're playing like a much more athletic QB, obviously DeVito can run, but a QB who you're really game planning for their legs, they're going to hold this and get what they can out of this, even though this safety is filling low. But again, that's the way teams are playing the run. Where you've got all these cats in here, and you got, even though they have the linebacker off here, you have your safety playing at 9 yards of depth. but that's like a fairly successful run. And this is the one that aggravates me the most on DeVito. I understand he's new and there's not much, audible power he probably has. Look at this front. To not audible to either a trap or power run, to me, it's criminal. To just run your basic inside zone. To run your basic inside zone on this, right? And JMS does let me just run it through. JMS does a good job on this. Bredesen does not. So let's just talk about the run at hand. JMS, good job. I mean, put that shoulder into him. Pop his pads up. Bredesen needs to block through this. He needs to keep his feet moving and block through this and get his hips around. Not a good job by Bredesen. Right? These guys get out of here. But look at this front. Change this. There's no way you can see this front and not change this into power where you have JMS block down on this. You have either Thomas block this out and have Pugh go to this player right here, or you have Pugh go to this linebacker and Bredesen up to the safety. You have this could have been an explosive run. This could have been an explosive run. And especially with the way that they're playing this this read option right here where they're in man coverage, this could have been a nice run. If you let's just say that you have Thomas block out to this like he does. You have JMS block the backside. You pull Bredesen. You have Pugh go off to this linebacker. And you've got Bredesen with a one-on-one with this player right here with all this space in the fucking world. And Saquon with a one-on-one with the safety. But even then, you still got a really favorable run front. Would have been a nice, their most successful run of the game. And still, it ends up being a freaking loss. So, I mean, it's just a bad job. One, bad job up front. The way these guys work their combos is just, it looks like they don't practice it enough. It looks like they don't have the strength, the power attack, the athleticism to do this. They need to get away from running so much wide zone. You're playing stack boxes. It makes it easy. You're playing stack boxes, the zone. That's easy for them. You got to run more gap runs. I understand. Hey, if they're going to spill, run, pin, and pull. That's what got you success last year. I don't understand why they're not doing that as much. I really don't understand why they're not doing that as much. And guess what? If they're going to play like that, keep hitting these read options with DeVito. I'm telling you, spam it 6-7 times. You've done it in the past with Daniel Jones. If they're going to play like that, force them to play you honest on the backside until they do. Force them until they don't. So, we'll go through these sacks in a bit. And I know this is a long offensive line report and people aren't going to really want to watch this. But to me, this is what I wanted to talk about. Is this issues in the run game. You know what? I'm thinking about just leaving it at this. Let's just leave it at this. Maybe I will put together a second offensive line report. But I wanted to break down all these runs. Maybe we'll change the title of this from the offensive line report to why film breakdown, why the Giants can't run the damn ball. Like and subscribe. Let's go Big Blue.